Good morning, good morning. It is Wednesday, middle of the week here, October 16. This is the Bill Press Show. Good morning. Thank you for joining us as we bring you all the latest news from our nation's capital, from around the country, and around the globe, booming out to you from our studio here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Day 16 now of the government shutdown, and yesterday, you may recall, it looks like we were on the brink of a deal worked out in the Senate that would have to be approved by the Senate and then go back to the House, and suddenly everything fell apart. John Boehner says, we're not going to take any stinking Senate deal. We're going to come up with our own plan. Among Republicans in the House, they cobbled together a plan. They couldn't get it approved by the House Republican caucus. So they rewrote the plan, and they still couldn't get it approved by the Republican caucus. A humiliating defeat for John Boehner. And then at the last minute, Harry Reid and Mitch McConnell started talking again. We'll see what happens today. Meanwhile, we are less than 48 hours from going over the brink, and one ratings agency has already said it is going to lower the credit rating of the United States. We will lose our AAA rating unless we raise the debt ceiling by Thursday at midnight. In other news, a group of veterans yesterday, many veterans organizations said, We are not represented by Ted Cruz and Sarah Palin. They don't speak for us. We want the government shutdown to end, period, and Ted Cruz is wrong. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Join us on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. The Bill Press Show, Wednesday, October 16.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach
likes
your
you.
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Day 16 of the shutdown. It looks like we're going over the cliff. Good morning, everybody. Less than 48 hours to straighten it out. I have no confidence that they will. How about you? Good to see you this Wednesday morning. We try to keep up with it all. And the embarrassing attempts at the House Republicans yesterday to hijack the whole operation. They failed, but we lost 24 hours, and we're closer than ever to default. We'll bring you up to date on all this Wednesday morning in every way we can. And not only that, get you to participate, get you to join the conversation. We look forward to hearing from you about what all of this mess means to you and to your family, to your community. And whether you think it's possible to even govern anymore in this country, given the present state of characters. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Get it off your chest early this morning here. Give us your comments on Twitter at BP Show. That's easy enough, at BP Show. And on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Thousands of followers on Facebook. And if you're not yet one of them, well, shame on you. Join up. Again, good Wednesday morning here, middle of the week. We've got the team assembled in place. Peter Ogburn and Dan Henning. Hello.
Hey. Good morning.
Good to see you this morning with Alicia Cruz, sipping her coffee, ready for your phone calls. Just make her work hard this morning. Just flood her with phone calls.
Better get more coffee, Alicia.
Yeah, right. And then if we're looking good on the video stream, we're looking good on Free Speech TV, you can don't thank us, thank Cyprian Bolding, because in addition to the fact that we are your morning radio show on your local progressive talk radio station, we're also seen on, I started to say Current TV. That's a long time. That's a long time ago, right?
Thank God you didn't say it.
Al Gore, where are you when we need you? No.
There he is.
Yeah, you won't find us on Al Jazeera either. No, where are we? Free Speech TV. Damn it. Absolutely. Free Speech TV if you got a satellite dish. You'll find us there on DirecTV or the Dish Network. And, of course, for you computer junkies on the video stream, there we are on TawkrTV. It's a whole new operation, TawkrTV, TawkrTV, all one word. YouTube.com/TawkrTV. Well, we're getting closer to the World Series, huh?
Yeah, man.
Yesterday, at least the Cardinals came within one game, right? They're now 3-1 over the Dodgers.
Dodgers are in a tough spot, man.
Dodgers are in a tough spot, but they are in L.A. Yesterday. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, Cardinals versus the Dodgers.
That's right.
I got it right. But on KMOX, this is the Cardinals' home radio station with a final call.
2-2 on Uribe. The pitch by Rosenthal. Swung on and missed for a Redbird winner. And the Cardinals are back where they were a year ago. They're one win away from going to the World Series as they go up 3-1 over the Los Angeles Dodgers, winning here at Dodger Stadium in Game 4, 4-2.
4-2. That was John Rooney making the call there. Meanwhile, the Red Sox, they're getting closer too, coming one up over the Detroit Tigers. Mike Napoli put that winning run on the scoreboard with a one-man home run.
3-2, the windup and the pitch. And he swings it. It's a high drive to left center field deep. Back goes Dirks, back by the bullpen. It is gone! Into the Red Sox bullpen. Mike Napoli takes a high fastball, 96 miles an hour out of the park against the wind into the Red Sox pen. And the Red Sox lead it 1-0.
I still think it's going to be the Red Sox versus the Dodgers. I've got faith in my Dodgers. Yeah. I'm going out to L.A. Friday, so if they need me,
You better stay away, knowing your luck with baseball games.
Well, that's with the Nats.
Yeah, but maybe that black cloud travels.
That transfers.
You think so?
Transitive property there.
All right, I won't go to the game.
All right.
Okay.
Just hope that you're not anywhere close to the stadium if you actually want them to win.
No, I'll be out in Santa Monica. Won't be at, what does they call that? Ravine? Something Ravine. Where the stadium is.
Yeah.
Been there. I've been there so many times. All right, so we got it covered here. Not just baseball. We got the shutdown covered. Baseball is doing better than the government is these days. But we'll bring you up to date on what's going on with two members of Congress today, Barbara Lee from California and Peter Welsh from Vermont. And then Dr. Larry Sabato, our good friend from the University of Virginia, has a very, very important book. It's making a lot of news about the This next month is the 50th anniversary of the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Larry Sabato's got a lot of new details in his book about the Kennedy presidency and the assassination. He'll be in studio with us, as well as a couple of reporters we'll be talking to and taking your calls again at 866-55-PRESS. And wait till we tell you what happened yesterday. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
On this Wednesday, other headlines making news. Everyone loved when Tina Fey and Amy Poehler hosted the Golden Globe Awards earlier this year, so they are coming back twice. According to The Hollywood Reporter, the actresses who brought in the award show's highest ratings in 6 years will be back to host this coming January and have signed a contract for the 2015 awards as well. There had been rumors of them going to host the Oscars, but that now has been ruled out.
Great team. They're very smart to do that.
They never make those kind of announcements, right?
No,
Where they say like two for the next 2 years.
Next 2 years.
But they are really fantastic hosts.
Yeah, they are. And that's what the Dodgers, what am I saying?
Tina Fey should pitch for the Dodgers.
The Oscars need is to get, another really good talent that they can count on year after year.
Yeah.
The journalist who helped Edward Snowden bring light to the U.S. spying world is leaving the organization where he published those reports. BuzzFeed tells us Glenn Greenwald is leaving his post at The Guardian to create a new news organization, which he calls a, quote, momentous new venture. The only thing more he would say about it is that it would be a very substantial new media outlet with no other details. He is leaving The Guardian on good terms.
It's going to be there's a lot of money behind this thing. I forget the name of the guy in California who's
the guy from eBay is backing it.
eBay,
yes.
Yeah. And I think they're also getting the woman who made the documentary about Snowden. Anyhow, it's going to be a powerful team of investigative reporters. Jeremy Scahill's also joining them.
Oh, wow.
Who's been in studio,
He's
with
awesome.
us, and he is incredible.
Yeah, big deal. And it looks like Apple will have a new iPad on sale for the holidays. Company sent out invitations for an October 22nd event at its headquarters in California, saying, "We will have a lot to cover." USA Today relays rumors they will likely release an iPad 5 and an upgraded iPad mini. While the recent iPhone 5S launch went well, investors are expecting a lot in this release because of increased competition in the handheld tablet market.
So it's going to be a new iPad or updates on the iPad?
They're saying new iPad and updates on the iPad mini.
That's exciting.
So,
yeah, I don't know. I may have to trade in here.
I'd be curious to see what else they can do with it.
Right. Yeah. I got to tell you, man, I've got the new upgraded system on my iPhone, but there are a lot of glitches in it.
I don't like that new system. I don't like it one bit.
I mean, so many different applications and programs and everything I find are just not as good as they used to be. But that's another story. The shutdown. Remember yesterday we had but we didn't like the deal, but at least there was a little bit of hope and optimism in our conversation yesterday because there was a deal on the table. Not quite yet on the table, but very close to being on the table. It was a deal being cooked up in the Senate between Harry Reid and Mitch McConnell. You remember the details of it. It would have extended extended the debt ceiling. Raised the debt ceiling, but only until February 7 or February 15, around that time. It would have reopened the government, but only until January, and was 15. And it would have created this new budget committee to try to come up with a new plan for a balanced approach to the budget by December 15. We didn't like it because the timelines, 3 months, 4 months, just is not enough time to get out of this mess and give us a chance to do other things. But no matter how bad the deal was or no matter how imperfect the deal was, it all fell apart yesterday, surprisingly, when suddenly, here's the TikTok, John Boehner, who had said, we can't get anything done in the House, so you take it in the Senate, and we'll just wait and see what you can do over there. Then John Boehner said, no, we changed our mind. We're going to come up with our own plan. We're not going to take anything that the Senate sends over here because the Tea Partiers told him they didn't want to sit back and wait for the Senate. So John Boehner says, no, we'll come up with our own plan. And he did. And he couldn't even sell it to his House Republican caucus. So he went back and trashed that one and rewrote another plan. more to the liking of the Tea Party, while the Senate, meanwhile, suspended all talks, waiting to see what the House could come up with, what John Boehner could deliver. And John Boehner took the second revised Republican plan back to the Republicans in the House, and they rejected that as well. It was, in other words, a whole day lost and a whole day of humiliating defeat and embarrassment for John Boehner. Boehner, this is to show, so he walks out of a 2-hour meeting of his caucus, which, by the way, that meeting began when, at the request of a former funeral director, who is now a freshman congressman, he said, we should open our meeting by singing Amazing Grace. Yeah. Talk about a funeral dirge, right? They did. I was lost, but now I'm found. Yes, I was blind, but now I see. Anyhow, and Boehner emerges from that meeting where they were going to sell the plan and all get united. And the best he can say is, well, a lot of people have different things to say.
There are a lot of opinions about what direction to go. There have been no decisions about what exactly we will do.
No decisions? Jesus. I mean, what do they need, right? I mean, and Harry Reid was blistered. I mean, he just said, look, this is, one thing he said, whatever's going on over in the House has nothing to do with us.
Everyone needs to know that the measure under discussion in the House is no part of what we've negotiated here in the Senate.
And needless to say, being so close to striking a deal with Mitch McConnell, Harry Reid, and I'd say the American people disappointed in these follies in the House caucus.
This is so disappointing. On the eve of financial destruction for this great country, and that's what it is. To appease a small group of people over there. I'm so disappointed.
It's all about the Tea Party. We've been saying that. It's all about these 25 or 30 hardcore Tea Partiers. And it's about something else, too. It's all about John Boehner trying to save his job. Harry Reid knows that.
I'm very disappointed with John Boehner, who would once again try to preserve his role at the expense of the country.
All right, so here we are. Tell me what you think about this 866-55-PRESS. We wasted an entire day. During that time, the Senate did nothing. During that time, the Fitch rating agency said, they made that announcement yesterday, that if in fact the United States the Congress does not lift the debt ceiling by this deadline of October 17, less than 48 hours away, they're going to lower the credit rating of the United States. We will lose our AAA credit rating, and you know what that is from your own credit history. Once your credit rating starts to slide, you are toast in terms of raising new money, getting new investments, or if you get them, you're going to have to pay a hell of a lot more for them, which means interest rates on everything are going to go up across the country, and the market will plummet. Less than 48 hours away. And because John Boehner's afraid of losing his speakership, I mean, let's put the blame where it belongs. I hate these people who say, oh, there's enough blame to go around. No, there's not. There's one man who stands between us and saving this country. And that's John Boehner, because he's afraid of his job. He's just protecting his own ass. 866-55-PRESS, 866-55-77-377. How do we get out of this mess? That's what I want to know. Let's talk about it.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, it's 25 minutes after the hour. I got to tell you, with less than 48 hours ago, I don't think these clowns are going to get it together. I mean, I hope they do. I hate the deal because it's such a short-term deal. But I think what we're going to see is the Senate will come up with a plan, a half-assed plan. And these Tea Partiers are going to derail it in the House, and unless John Boehner is willing to fall on his sword and lose his job, this whole country is going to go into default over one man and his job. That's and then, you know, we ought to just, I know we can't do it. I think we ought to just trash the whole bunch of them and then start from scratch. That's what we need.
The nuclear option. Just
By the way,
start.
I'm not the only one who says that. Where is it today? I think it was something like, I read 74% of the American people say, just throw them all out.
All of them.
Yeah.
Every
throw
last
them all
one
out.
of them.
Which is unfair because 200 Democrats are really trying to do the right thing. But I understand why people would just say, hell with all of them. Peter.
We're on
comments.
Twitter at BP Show, at BP Show. Rob says the whole idea that this is the fault of both sides died yesterday as Boehner failed to even bring his own bill to the floor.
Amen.
Now we are effed. Robbie says, who knew Charlie Brown was so orange? The Tea Party keeps teeing up that football and Boehner keeps landing on his ass. What a dope. You want to join in the conversation? Find us on Twitter at BP Show.
The Orange Man, Larry, calling from York, Pennsylvania. Hey, Larry, what do you say?
Morning, Bill. You know, when you have that kid in the middle of the supermarket that's sitting there crying and throwing a tantrum, you got two kinds of parents. You got the first one that says, oh, honey, don't worry about it. Everything will be okay. Then you got the parent that snatches the kid up and says, wait till I get you in the car. That's what the Democrats need to see now. They need to say, you know what, Republican Party, you've had a nice run. Thank you, Lincoln, for starting everything, freeing the slaves. But you know what? Your party is now over. They need to pull a deal and crush the Republicans forever. Amen. It's done. They get nothing.
Larry,
Give them nothing.
Yeah, from your lips to God's ears, absolutely. No, I mean, this could be the end of this Republican Party, and some Republicans recognize that. Unfortunately, they're letting the other guys run the show. Good to hear from you, Larry. Glenn in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Hello, Glenn.
Morning, Bill.
Yeah, what's up?
Long time no here.
Hey.
I was wanting to say that I think that Al-Qaeda and Al-Shabaab need to just lay back and allow the Republicans to do their work for them. Because what they're doing right now is tearing apart this country, and they're tearing apart the economy of the world.
You know, Glenn, I've heard a lot of people make that analogy, and I don't think it's far off. I mean, I think we could rightly call these Tea Party Republicans terrorists. They are terrorists. They're domestic terrorists. They're out to destroy this country.
Is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, thanks for watching the Bill Press Show on Free Speech TV and on TawkrTV. Early this week, we talked to Congressman Jim Himes from the 4th District of Connecticut. He was here to talk about the government shutdown and a possibility of default by not raising the debt ceiling. In case you missed that interview, we wanted to bring you a little bit of it live right here. Reopen the government until January 15. Why is that even an issue? I mean, shouldn't the government just be functioning? All these agencies, they've got important work to do. There are people who depend on their services. You know that. I'm not telling you anything. And suddenly this has become a new bargaining tool.
Yeah, no, I've been thinking a lot about this lately, and you know what we would do if we had sort of rational politics right now? First of all, we'd get rid of the debt ceiling. You know, I mean, there's just no argument for it. I know you said CR. Let's come back to the government being closed, but you know, there is no argument in favor of having a debt ceiling. It has never, in its whatever it is, 50 years of existence, done anything to particularly put downward pressure on the deficit or the debt. And of course, you know, we've seen now in the last 2 years, it's been used as a you know, people like to use the word metaphor. You know, we're going to blow the place. The word nuclear as a metaphor, you know, we're going to blow the place up. You know, and the government, same thing. Yeah, so my fix would be get rid of the debt ceiling. It's never done anything good for us. And by the way, if we're going to do a shutdown, and this is probably not legally tenable, but if we're going to do a shutdown, let's do a shutdown. Members of Congress don't get paid. The lights go off. The heat goes down. Ships, you know, go to anchor wherever they are. You know, make it a real shutdown. And guess what? It'll never happen. If Social Security and Medicare aren't functional, it will never happen.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww. You should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
After the hour, once in a while, there are a few reasonable, rational, cool, calm, intelligent Republican voices that are being heard, that are in dismay over what's happening, particularly among the House Republicans. And once in a while, even John McCain says something that's worth quoting. John McCain yesterday said, and here quoted in the New York Times, "It's very, very serious. Republicans have to understand we have lost this battle. We have lost this battle. As I predicted weeks ago," continued McCain, "I predicted we would lose this battle. We would not be able to win because we were demanding something that was not achievable. Demanding the shutdown of not just the government, but the shutdown of Obamacare, or the end of Obamacare, the killing or the delaying or the defunding of Obamacare, which has been the law of the land for 3 years. John McCain told them at the beginning, you're not going to get it. Just don't even try. They did, and now he's saying, we failed, we've lost, we've just got to move on. House Republicans, however, refuse to accept that reality. Let's go back to the phones here. Listening on iHeartRadio, Mimi up in Stony Brook, New York. Mim. I'm sorry, Mim. Oh, not Mimi, Mim.
That's all right.
I was into La Boheme there.
That's okay.
Hey, Mim, haven't heard from you in a while. Good to hear from you.
I listen every day, Bill.
Great, thank you.
This is like watching a whole country standing around watching two men drown a baby in a bathtub. I don't understand where the power and authority of a democracy is. Where are the party elders? Sure, John McCain says something. Sure, somebody else says something. But is there no one who can stop them, take them out to the woodshed? Doesn't the president have some authority if we default? I mean, everything is so descriptive, but I don't hear anybody talking about what actual remedies there are.
You know, that's an excellent point. I was thinking about that this morning, actually, walking over to the studio. First of all, there's several people, I think, like elements maybe missing in action. I mentioned this yesterday, Mim. There is no leadership of the Republican Party that I can see who's really, really willing to stand up to a Ted Cruz or to these House Republicans or to John Boehner, right? So in the Republican Party, where's the leadership on the other side? I just quoted John McCain, but nobody follows John McCain anymore, right? You need a strong leader out there to say, this is crazy, it's got to stop for the sake of our party. Secondly, I just wonder where the American people are. I mean, why aren't there more big protests all over the place, right? You know, why aren't people more upset about this? They seem just to think, well, there's nothing we can do. And yet you get 200 yahoos here in Washington on Sunday, and they made all the news about the World War II memorial, as if that's the biggest impact of the shutdown. And third, you mentioned President Obama. I got to tell you, I think he's been MIA too. He's been on the sidelines, and I think he ought to be out there pounding the podium and telling these people, damn it, there's too much at stake here. Stop playing games and let's get serious, you know? So I don't get it either. Maybe you and I can shake him up, Mim.
I wish we could. It's time to storm the gates.
It is time to storm the gates with less than 48 hours to go. I mean, 800,000 federal employees who are furloughed, they ought to be on the Washington Mall storming the Capitol, not the World War II memorial. Pete, thanks, Mim. Pete, calling from Chicago. Hello, Pete.
Hey, how's it going, Bill?
All right.
I got an idea.
Yeah.
Okay, how about if Nancy Pelosi goes up to Boehner and says to him, listen, all right, you're worried about your job. If the Republicans try to pull you out, we'll vote for you, and you can keep your job as Speaker until the 2014 election if you give us a clean CR and also allow us to, raise the debt.
Yeah.
And if Harry Reid will threaten to use the nuclear option of 51 votes, I think that'll do it.
Well, let me tell you, that's not crazy, Pete, at all. There has been some talk about that here in Washington. That a way out of this, if Boehner would take it, if he'd put it on there's no doubt, if he would put it on the floor, it would pass. It would pass with Democratic votes. And then if he got a challenge to his speakership, right, all the members of the House get to vote. Democrats could, if the Republicans abandoned him, which they probably would, the Tea Partiers, Democrats could save his ass. Democrats could vote for him under a deal like that, and he would remain Speaker. It'd be a tough maybe choice for Boehner to be a Speaker, a Republican that was elected with the help of the Democrats, but I think it'd be better than the mess he's in right now, wouldn't you? Don't you? I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah. But then maybe he'd be able to get some things done, which I think he'd like to do, but he can't get anything done today. So, Pete, it's not crazy, and you ought to know it has been talked about here in Washington, and maybe that's the way out. Maybe that's how we'll end up. I think Democrats would go along with it from the ones that I've talked to. In fact, we've got a couple of Democrats coming in later this morning. We'll find out. Juliet out in San Rafael, California on KNEW. Juliet, good morning.
Good morning. By the way, I got LifeLock because of you.
Oh, well, very good. Thank you. Well,
I just thought I'd let you know that.
I'm pleased to hear that.
We have Boozer Boehner, who smokes cigarettes and drinks too much and plays golf, I understand. But what kind of a role model is he? His face is so red from drinking, you can't even look at him on TV without knowing what he's up to.
Well,
he's a really sick man.
It's his political leadership that I think we ought to talk about and we ought to focus on, and that's lacking today, Juliet. It's a backbone.
Well, it is. You're absolutely right.
To take on his Tea Party people.
Well, he's a chicken shit. Pardon me.
Yeah. All right. We
Thank you.
got that. Thanks, Juliet. Always good to hear from you. But the idea here. Somehow we're going to get out of this. Maybe going over the cliff. And then we'll fix it. I don't know. Whenever we have 5-minute breathing space when we are not on the brink of fiscal collapse, we got to talk about fixing this government so we can get some things done, and fixing this Congress so it can do its job, right? I mean, we're at the point right now where everything is broken down. Last night, Chris Matthews has a new book out called Tip and the Gipper, and it's about this historic, classic relationship between Tip O'Neill when he was Speaker and President Reagan when he was in the White House, and how they used to fight like hell during the day, but then they would get together at night and put down a couple of drinks and tell a couple of stories. And they worked together. They got things done. And Chris Matthews and I were talking about the fact that, we have just never, there's been tension before, and there's certainly political rivalry before. And certainly the two parties didn't agree on everything. But the system worked. And they'd get a budget passed like in May when they were supposed to. And they'd fight it out, and then they would pass the budget. And the process worked today. I mean, Chris, again, we were talking about, we have never seen it this bad, and it may be at the point of no return.
That's scary, and that
is
sucks.
Scary. And how do we get out of it and get to a point where the government can function? It cannot function with these Tea Party people there. That's the first thing you got to do, is you got to clean house with them. We'll have that conversation maybe about how we fix this whole mess. But first, we just, we got to save the country in the next 48 hours. When we come back, a pretty scary revelation, the latest about the NSA. And we'll be talking to Jessica Myers from Politico about the latest invasion of privacy we just learned about here on the Bill Press Show Wednesday morning.
Like politics? Then like The Bill Press Show on Facebook. This is The Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer?
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Racing dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
How about it? 13 minutes before the top of the hour. The Bill Press Show in the next hour. Dr. Larry Sabato here from the University of Virginia with his new book on Kennedy, The Kennedy Half Century. Meanwhile, some more disturbing news reported yesterday about the NSA and more stuff and more information that they are gathering on us Americans. Jessica Myers, technology reporter for Politico, joins us on our news line this morning. Jessica, thanks for being with us.
Sure, happy to be here.
So what is the latest? The NSA not only monitoring our phone calls, but snooping into our email address books?
Yes, the latest Edward Snowden leaks reveal that the NSA plucks hundreds of billions of contact lists from personal email and instant messaging accounts globally, and some of these belong to Americans. And this list includes email address books and buddy lists from IM services, and it can happen when a user logs on, writes a message, or syncs their computer or cell phone with the cloud.
So, I mean, it's like, that sounds so massive and so invasive, right? It's all of our email address books, IM address books, LinkedIn, I guess, on all these, Facebook, and all these systems, right?
It does sound a bit scary, but by law, the collection has to take place overseas, but it inevitably draws in some contacts from Americans, and the NSA say it collects in bulks. So they're interested, and they get this vast amount of data, but they're interested in terrorists and drug smugglers, not so much who the average American's list is and who they're contacting.
Well, this came up at the briefing yesterday. Ed Henry of Fox News actually asked about it, and Jay Carney, just a quick clip here, gave what has become the anytime these questions about NSA comes up, this be standard administration response. Here's Jay Carney.
The National Security Agency is focused on discovering and developing intelligence about valid foreign intelligence targets, such as terrorists, human traffickers, and drug smugglers. They are not interested in personal information about ordinary Americans.
So should we just take that at his word and just not be worried about this, what they're collecting in terms of as Americans?
Well, it's a fuzzy line. I mean, it depends on your view of privacy. Is this too invasive? And they say, as you said, that line you can almost quote by heart by now, that this is really focused on terrorists and it's not targeting Americans, but it does go beyond what many people feel is a safe expectation of privacy. If you look at Europe right now, there many are up in arms right now about this, and it's becoming a much bigger deal there. So this is a big issue for tech companies, because you've got an upcoming vote on data protection standards, which could be some of the most strict privacy standards in the world, and really overhaul their business models. So they're really, really concerned about what's happening on that front.
So good. Well, that's a good question. Could the government could NSA be getting this information without the cooperation and the assistance of the tech companies?
That's another good question. The tech companies have been doing the same thing about kind of saying the same response. And then they also say that they didn't know about the interceptions of the contact list. Yahoo said it would begin encrypting its email connections, something Google is already doing. But what's interesting about this is that they're calling for transparency, and it's come out with lawsuits demanding more information about the national security request they release. But they haven't challenged or asked for significant changes in the law. So you don't see them supporting any senators' new amendments or say Ron Wyden's calls to limit the ability of the access for phone call logs. So they're also in a kind of precarious position. But some are saying, well, why aren't they pushing for more?
So I think, I guess, from the latest revelations about NSA, we can basically assume that every single phone call we make is being tracked, if not monitored, and every single email or any electronic message we send is being tracked. Is that correct? Is that going too far?
Well, the NSA does say that these are collecting a vast amount of data, and they call this their metadata.
Right.
So it's not as if perhaps they're not listening to our phone call right now. But it is safe to assume that our notions of privacy have fundamentally changed.
This is all, and I'm going to come back because you mentioned his name at the very beginning. This is still part of the Edward Snowden dump, if you will, right?
Yes, exactly. This was first reported in the Washington Post, and then you can probably expect a bit more of this in days to come.
Honestly, yeah. You mean this? There are waves, right? Wave after wave after wave after wave of information, all revealed by Edward Snowden. And so far, Jessica, so far as I know, at any rate, nothing that has been reported that he revealed has been proven to be not true. I mean, right? They may deny the implications of it, but nobody denies this is exactly what they're doing.
This is true. There is, this called into question some way in which it's been reported or some interpretation, but fundamentally what he's presented has not been fundamentally questioned.
Wow, unbelievable. Jessica, I'm telling you, it's a big story. It'd be getting a lot more attention if it weren't for the shutdown, but we wanted to talk to you about it this morning and not let it escape everyone's attention. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Take care.
Jessica Myers, technology reporter for Politico.com.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Racing dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we go in the next hour. Again, Larry Sabato from the University of Virginia here with his powerful new book about President Kennedy. And then we'll be joined by the head of the NEA, National Education Association, Dennis Van Rokel.
We were just talking about the NSA. Speaking of which, you remember back in June, the NSA director Keith Alexander said that the NSA snooping or spying program had stopped or foiled 54 plots against Americans.
Yeah, I remember
right?
that.
Remember that number?
I remember that.
Plots?
I never believed it. What's the latest?
I'm glad you didn't believe it because it turns out it was 100% untrue. It was not true.
Bastards.
He was back talking to Patrick Leahy in the Senate Judiciary Committee. He confirmed that there were not 54 plots. He admitted that there were only 13 that were connected to the United States. And only 1 or 2 suspected plots were identified as a result of the bulk phone record collection. So of all those plots, there were only 13 that actually were against the United States. And of those, 2 were because of the snooping.
When is somebody going to, let's fund the government and get the government back to work and then go after the NSA and stop this invasion of our privacy.
This is The Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Good morning, good morning. It is Wednesday, middle of the week here, October 16. This is the Bill Press Show. Good morning. Thank you for joining us as we bring you all the latest news from our nation's capital, from around the country, and around the globe, booming out to you from our studio here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Day 16 now of the government shutdown, and yesterday, you may recall, it looks like we were on the brink of a deal worked out in the Senate that would have to be approved by the Senate and then go back to the House. And suddenly, everything fell apart. John Boehner says, we're not going to take any stinking Senate deal. We're going to come up with our own plan. Among Republicans in the House, they cobbled together a plan. They couldn't get it approved by the House Republican caucus. So they rewrote the plan, and they still couldn't get it approved by the Republican caucus. A humiliating defeat for John Boehner And then at the last minute, Harry Reid and Mitch McConnell started talking again. We'll see what happens today. Meanwhile, we are less than 48 hours from going over the brink, and one ratings agency has already said it is going to lower the credit rating of the United States. We will lose our AAA rating unless we raise the debt ceiling by Thursday at midnight. In other news, a group of veterans yesterday, many veterans organizations said, we are not represented by Ted Cruz and Sarah Palin. They don't speak for us. We want the government shut down to end, period, and Ted Cruz is wrong. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Join us on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. The Bill Press Show, Wednesday, October 16.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Day 16 of the government shutdown, and less than 48 hours ago, it looks like we could very well go over the cliff. At least if Tea Party Republicans in the House have their way. Good morning, everybody. Great to see you. Happy Wednesday, October 16. It's the Bill Press Show coming to you live coast to coast from our studio right here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., trying to make sense of what's going on and bringing you up to date, which we will do with the help of some good friends today. A couple of members of Congress, Congresswoman Barbara Lee and Congressman Peter Welch, coming in the next hour. Meanwhile, you know, regulars here on the program know that, I don't know, at least once a month, maybe a little more often, we check in with one of the brightest minds in the political world of this country, knows the system better than anybody I know, Dr. Larry Sabato, director of the Center for Politics at the University of Virginia. And we always said that someday we'll get him in the studio. Someday. Well, we've been trying hard, and we finally succeeded. Here he is, Larry Sabato. Nice to see you.
Now you're disappointed.
That's
the problem.
And the occasion for coming in studio is publication of a very, very important book, The Kennedy Half Century, just out, The Presidency, Assassination, and Lasting Legacy of John F. Kennedy. We want to talk about this, Larry, but it's hard to believe 50 years next month, the
Seems like
anniversary of
yesterday.
the assassination. For those of us who were alive then,
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. It's one of those flashbulb moments. Everybody remembers exactly where they were and what they were doing and who they talked to, and you just never forget.
But you have some very important new details about the assassination. But what I find equally, maybe more fascinating, is how the Kennedy, and I want you to tell us about this, how the Kennedy legacy has persevered, has continued through these last 50 years, even though he wasn't president that long and didn't accomplish that much as a president. So
Exactly. No, and I'm glad you focused on that, Bill, because we do have news about the assassination. Naturally, people tend to focus in on that because they're so fascinated in the murder of the century. But to me, the real contribution of the book and the original creative part of it was tracing John F. Kennedy's life after death, which is really what legacy is, through all 9 of his successors. We spent 5 years on this, and I'll tell you, I was really amazed at how much his successor presidents used him, Democrat and Republican alike. Mm-hmm. They quoted his words, they cited his deeds in order to reinforce parts of their own agenda. And that's really a hidden tool in the toolbox of the American presidency, is what the predecessors have done or didn't do, and the new president tries to use those to leverage his own agenda.
Larry Sabato here with us, the Kennedy Half Century, this first half hour. Your questions always welcome, of course, at 866-55-PRESS. And your comments welcome on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. Our team in place, Peter Ogburn and Dan Henning, with Alicia Cruz standing by to take those phone calls, of course, and Cyprian Bolding, our videographer, keeping us looking good on Free Speech TV and on our feed, video streaming at TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. So, Larry, I want to jump right into this, but first, Dan always starts us off with the big headlines.
Yes, other headlines making news on this Wednesday. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame announced its nominees for the class of 2014 this morning. They include Nirvana, Peter Gabriel, Hall & Oates, The Replacements, The Zombies, Yes, and Linda Ronstadt.
Linda Ronstadt.
Yes,
Wow.
Linda Ronstadt. All first-time nominees and also repeat nominees trying to get in again. Kiss, LL Cool J, Cat Stevens, Deep Purple, among others.
That is so funny. I was just going to ask you, where's Linda Ronstadt? Because
you got nominated.
When she was here a month or so ago and we had lunch, she's a friend from California, Jerry Brown days.
Right.
And when she was down on the mall at the Big Book Festival, the first question from the audience was, why aren't you in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Well, hopefully she'll get in.
I don't know. Well, now it looks like it's going to make it.
Take credit for it, Bill. Say you made a phone call, and that's how it's done.
All right.
About 600 voters will decide who gets in, and they'll announce the inductees in December.
All right. We'll be there.
Former Senator and presidential candidate John Edwards' mistress says she is sorry for her actions that led to Edwards' political downfall. Rielle Hunter wrote in an op-ed for the Huffington Post yesterday that she behaved badly and was wrong and selfish, and it has taken a long time for her to admit that. In her apology, she also said for years she felt like a victim after the 2008 affair, but the attacks on her in the media were beside the point, which was that she behaved badly, and the point was that she knows that she inflicted pain on Edwards' family, specifically his late wife, Elizabeth.
Yeah, she wrote a book attacking Elizabeth, and got trashed for it. So now she's come out with a new book apologizing.
It's amazing that a mistress would recognize that she behaved badly.
And finally, another victim of the government shutdown, Michelle Obama's garden at the White House. According to the Obama Foodorama blog, the White House kitchen garden has become completely overgrown. The squirrels are having a field day in it. Produce is going to waste because the gardeners that are not furloughed and are still working are not allowed to work in the garden other than occasionally watering it. The White House staffers who often volunteered their time to weed in the garden after hours, they're on furlough as well.
Wait a minute, you mean Michelle Obama isn't out there weeding the garden herself?
Apparently not.
They have two girls.
I was going to say they have
chores?
kids.
All right.
I mean,
if the squirrels are having a field day, the rats are having a field day too.
Man.
And there was reportedly a fox now on the White House campus as well.
Haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out.
I'll keep my eyes out. Where do we start? How long did it take you on this book?
5 years, and with
Wow.
a great team working with me. We also have, by the way, the largest public opinion study ever of a long-ago presidency done by, we hired Peter Hart and Jeff Guerin to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Did a wonderful job comparing Kennedy to his predecessors and successors, 2,000 samples so that we could break it into all kinds of small demographics. It was an online poll so we could use video segments of Kennedy's speeches and so on. So it's kind of a precedent-setting study. That's part of it. We hired a sound firm, one of the best in the world, to help us analyze these audio tapes from November 22nd. So we had a big team working on this book, and I'm very proud of them.
Well, let's start with the assassination, just kind of get that out of the way. There are still people who believe in the grassy knoll theory. I meet them all the time. And there's still people who say other shots were heard. Oswald could not have acted alone. What's the truth?
Here's the truth as best I can determine it. We have had two terribly flawed investigations of the Kennedy assassination. The Warren Commission did an awful job. Part of it was their own process, which was political, which was set by the White House. It was on a political schedule to get it done before the 64 campaign. But part of it was that the Warren Commission was simply lied to by the FBI and the CIA, and we detail that. So, and there were members of the Warren Commission who were leaking to certain government agencies behind the scenes. It really was a terrible operation. Bill, I interviewed key witnesses from Dealey Plaza, really important people who had things to say, who were never interviewed by the Warren Commission. How can this be? And the answer is because they were in a rush. It was a rush job.
Wow.
But I was even more critical, as it turned out, of the second investigation, which was done in the 1970s, the House Select Committee on Assassinations. Now, they have a good excuse. Sound technology in the 70s was not nearly what it is today. So we have tools available they didn't have. But they based their conclusion that the assassination was the result of a conspiracy on a recording made at the police department, Dallas Police Department, at the time of the shooting, on an old device called a dictabelt, which we remember, and most people have no idea what it is, but that was the old recording device. The problem is we have now determined where that came from, how it was recorded. There was a policeman with a stuck microphone that allowed the sound to come through, but unfortunately, that policeman was not in Dealey Plaza. He was at the Trade Mart where President Kennedy was going to give his speech that tragically he never delivered.
Wow.
He recorded no gunfire at all. They misinterpreted certain impulses on the dictabelt as being gunshots. You know what it was? It was the rattling of the microphone on the motorcycle.
Good Lord.
So we've got it all in enormous detail.
Yeah.
We've got a chapter in the book on it, but I put the entire massive, detailed, mind-numbing report on our website, thekennedyhalfcentury.com.
So this leads you to believe that there was only one.
Well, I think it
gunman?
certainly removes one of the big pillars of support for the theory of a second gunman. But I will also say this, Bill. Having studied Oswald's career thoroughly, there are so many questions in my mind, not only about him, but about some of the things that happened on November 22nd right there in Dealey Plaza. I don't rule out the possibility that someone encouraged Oswald. It's even possible that someone was there to supervise. It's possible someone was there with a second gun that either didn't fire or missed.
Mm-hmm.
The bullet trajectories clearly came from Oswald in the sixth floor. I don't think there's any question.
Now, on Kennedy's legacy, I'm a great admirer of JFK, and I shook his hand when I was a high school student, right? And he certainly inspired me, as millions of Americans, to get involved in politics, to believe in their government and all of that. But it is kind of strange in the fact when you look at how long he was president and what little he accomplished, his impact is so much bigger and larger than that. How do you explain it?
I would let me give you an anecdote that will explain it. When President Kennedy was in the White House, he one evening invited a historian over to give a lecture on Lincoln. And Kennedy asked the first question after the lecture, and he said, if Lincoln had not been assassinated, would he be as well remembered today? The historian said, of course not, because he would have had to face the terrible problems of Reconstruction. He would have suffered from the same things most presidents do in their second terms, and on and on. And Kennedy said, I thought so. Later, apparently, he commented to Jackie, this was shortly after the Cuban Missile Crisis, well, if they're going to get me, this would be a good time to do it, meaning he left it in triumph. Well, a year later, of course, that's what happened. And the truth is, had he served 2 full terms, given what was coming in the 60s, even if he didn't do what Johnson did in Vietnam, and I happen to think he would not have. I don't believe there's any chance he would have put 535,000 troops in Vietnam, but lots of other things were happening in the 60s. I think Kennedy's reputation would be considerably less than it is now. So I'm not saying that's a good trade-off for an assassination. Of course it isn't. But the assassination had a dramatic effect on Kennedy. Our survey shows that he is still the most popular modern president. And he's the only one who's a bipartisan president. Believe it or not, while Democrats are overwhelmingly for him, a majority of Republicans support him too.
I was fascinated by the poll that you ask Americans to rate all their presidents from 1950 to 2000 on a scale of 0 to 10. Kennedy, the highest.
Exactly.
At 7.6%.
And he's the only short-term president in American history who has that kind of rating in the entire history of the country, because it takes a while to make an impact on the public. You need at least 2 full terms. Roosevelt had 3 and a piece.
And I also found it strange that if any former leader, alive or dead, could serve again, who would you want to bring back? Abraham Lincoln got 9%. Lincoln only 9%. Reagan was first with 24%.
Yeah, right. Well, that's a partisan response, obviously, and 24% is hardcore Republicans.
Yeah,
but
right.
I have to say, I clearly learned anew how little Americans know about their own history, and it's especially true with the young. My Center for Politics is totally dedicated to civic education and civic participation, mainly among the young, and boy, do we need it. Oh, my God, the signals from this survey, I was disturbed.
And you were saying just, again, at the very top of the show, I think it's an important point, that you have found, looking at the 9 presidents, every one of the 9 presidents since, Republican and Democrat, have tried somehow to wear the mantle of John F. Kennedy, right?
Yes, they've either tried to do it with his rhetoric, because, let's face it, you said it yourself, you were inspired. I first got involved in politics as a 7-year-old passing out literature in my neighborhood for John F. Kennedy. I caught a glimpse of him 4 days before the election. Most exciting thing that had ever happened to me. Probably still to this day, Bill, except for your show.
Thank you.
Yeah,
of
I
course.
just wanted to throw that in. But really, he did this for millions, and we just kept coming across people in the survey, and we had focus groups in a lot of major cities about Kennedy, and they would still talk about him as though he were in the room. They felt they knew him, even though clearly his abilities, they put him on a pedestal, but they felt they knew him in some way and they related to him. Maybe it was the self-deprecating humor. Maybe it was the enveloping rhetoric. Presidents have been able to use this, as they should. They should use all the tools at their disposal.
A book, not only to read, a book to buy, The Kennedy Half Century. We have a link up on our website, and of course you can get it at Amazon or your local bookstore, by Dr. Larry Sabato from the University of Virginia. Your questions, your comments, how Kennedy might have impacted you, or questions about his presidency or the assassination, 866-55-PRESS. We'll be right back with Larry Sabato here on The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look, your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we go again at 26 minutes now after the hour. Dr. Larry Sabato is the author of the monumental new volume, The Kennedy Half Century. Hard to believe, The Kennedy Half Century, but well named. The Presidency, Assassination, and Lasting Legacy of John F. Kennedy. Great to see you, Larry. Honor to have you in studio.
Thank you so much, Bill. Great
Peter?
to be with you.
It is a great honor to have him in the studio. We always talk to him on the phone as often as we can.
Right,
but now that we're here, people are paying attention. We're on Twitter @BP Show, where Astasia says Larry Sabato is more handsome in person.
Oh,
all of that smart, and he's funny. Watching him on the Full Court Press this morning. So there you go.
Thank you very much. You clearly don't know me.
This is from a female listener.
I appreciate that very, very much. If you were here, you'd feel differently, and probably once you fully wake up, you will.
You don't understand. It always pisses me off when our guests get all these gushing comments about how handsome they are. All right.
It happens.
Hello.
Yeah.
Larry, I can't let you come in the studio without asking you a couple of quick things. Okay, we're focused on the Kennedy book, but nobody knows politics better than you. You're in Virginia. What's going to happen with the governor's race?
You know our crystal ball operations, the UVA Center for Politics. We were the very first in the country to lean this race to Terry McAuliffe and the Democrats in August. We've never changed a thing. No reason to. It's over. It's been over. The structure of the race favors McAuliffe. I think he would win in a two-way race, but he's certainly being helped by the presence of a libertarian candidate who's collecting around 10%. It goes from 8 to 12, somewhere in that vicinity.
Yeah.
And disproportionately, those are Republican votes. But why are they voting libertarian? Because they see Ken Cuccinelli as being too right-wing on social issues. And those are the old fiscal conservative Republicans who are voting libertarian to send a message to their party.
And from your perspective there at the Center for Politics, what do you think about this mess in Washington? We just have about 30 seconds here.
Bill, we teach at UVA that politics is a good thing. I'm reconsidering the slogan. That's what I think about it.
Yeah, it is that bad.
No, it's awful. I can't even stand to watch it anymore, and I think a lot of people agree with me.
This is such an important contribution for so many reasons. Thank you for doing this, and thank you for coming in. Again, the Kennedy Half Century, an amazing, amazing presence in American politics still today of John F. Kennedy. Thanks, Larry Sabato.
This was a lot of fun, Bill.
Great
Thank
to see
you so
friend.
much.
All right.
Great.
Dennis Van Rokel from the National Education Association, president, here next on The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey friends, thanks for watching the Bill Press Show on Free Speech TV and on TawkrTV. Earlier this week, we talked to Congressman Jim Himes from the 4th District of Connecticut. He was here to talk about the government shutdown and a possibility of default by not raising the debt ceiling. In case you missed that interview, we wanted to bring you a little bit of it live right here. Reopen the government until January 15. Why is that even an issue? I mean, shouldn't the government just be functioning? All these agencies, they've got important work to do. There are people who depend on their services. You know that. I'm not telling you anything. And suddenly this has become a new bargaining tool.
Yeah, no, I've been thinking a lot about this lately, and you know what we would do if we had sort of rational politics right now? First of all, we'd get rid of the debt ceiling. There's just no argument for it. I know you said CR, let's come back to the government being closed, but, there is no argument in favor of having a debt ceiling. It has never, in its whatever it is, 50 years of existence, done anything to particularly put downward pressure on the deficit or the debt. And of course, we've seen now in the last 2 years, it's been used as a people like to use the word metaphor. We're going to blow the place, the word nuclear as a metaphor. We're going to blow the place up. And the government, same thing. Yeah, so my fix would be get rid of the debt ceiling. It's never done anything good for us. And by the way, if we're going to do a shutdown, and this is probably not legally tenable, but if we're going to do a shutdown, let's do a shutdown. Members of Congress don't get paid. The lights go off. The heat goes down. Ships, go to anchor wherever they are. Make it a real shutdown. And guess what? It'll never happen. If Social Security and Medicare aren't functional, it will never happen.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww. You should you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look! Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, you got it 33 minutes after the hour now here on this Wednesday, October 16. It is the Bill Press Show. We are coming to you live, coast to coast, all the way across this great land of ours from our studio on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Brought to you today by the National Education Association, the great men and women, teachers of America, under President Dennis Van Rokel, creating great public schools for every student in this country. You bet. And we are grateful for their support. You can find out more about their good work at NEA.org, their website. Or you can just ask the president himself what's going on. Here he is, President Dennis Van Rokel from the NEA. Hey, Dennis, nice to see you.
Hey, it's good to be here, as always, Bill.
Thanks for coming in again this morning. I particularly wanted to reach out to you because we're now on day 16 of the shutdown, maybe 8 months into the sequester. And there are people who are saying, oh, the shutdown, it's not having too bad of an impact out there. People are surviving, and we could even go one step further and default, and then we'll still be okay, some people are saying. What's the reality on the shutdown and the impact of on education?
Well, the reality is, as we go forward, it just keeps getting worse and worse, both from the shutdown and the sequester. It's really sad. 57,000 kids eliminated from Head Start. This is a program that was designed to level the playing field, to give kids an equal shot at being able to get an education and follow their dreams, and 57,000 eliminated.
And kids, who are these kids that qualify for Head Start?
These are 3- and 4-year-olds below the poverty level. So It's giving them what they need to get what others luckily get through their families. And it's and when someone said to me, well, 57,000, that's not a lot. I go, are you kidding? Talk to the parents of each one of those 57,000 and tell them that it's not really that important that they're not in Head Start. It's huge. Another big impact.
Head Start means they'd be in preschool. And if they're not there, then they are home.
Or not in daycare or not getting any preschool education.
But I'm just wondering, so who's paying for the daycare if they're not in Head Start, obviously?
Well, if their parents are lucky enough not to have been impacted by the shutdown, maybe they'll be home because they're unemployed. What a sad case that is. That's another thing that they don't talk about is as as they've cut jobs and the impact of not raising the debt ceiling, there are many families that are losing aid and money, and it impacts their kids who are supposed to be in school. They don't have food to feed them at home. So the impact on education goes way beyond just the specific things on education. It goes to the impact of the families who have these children who are losing those very important services and benefits they need. Another area is called impact aid. It's where there's a military base in a vicinity, and all of those kids from the base are going to public schools. So they're the public systems that take care of our men and women's children and educate them. And those schools are already feeling the cuts.
And there are many of those districts, right? I mean, there are military bases all around the country.
Sure.
Right. So these are school districts that are getting federal help to provide for the families of the military.
Right. When you think about it, in a normal community, you have tax rates that support the public schools. You put a military base and you have, could be anywhere, thousands of kids going to school, but they're not supported by the local tax base. So the federal government pays their share through impact aid so that the school districts can educate all of these kids.
How big a factor for local schools is federal aid? Because you think, again, the mantra is, I think that education is a local issue, right? I mean, that's why they've, for a long time, wanted to get rid of the Department of Education because these schools are local control, right?
Yeah, we talk often that less than 10% of all the funding for public education comes from the federal level, but where it comes is really powerful. 1 in 4 districts get at least 15 to 20% of their total budget through federal funds. Could be because they have a high concentration of English language learners. It could be I mentioned the impact aid. It could be they have a lot of children of migrant workers. Special education is a federal fund. So It's all those programs that we've done at the federal level. Gosh, what a wonderful time during the 60s and 70s when we tried to level the playing field, to give all kids a fair shot. And to me, it just makes sense that in the richest, most powerful nation in the world, it really shouldn't matter where you live. There ought to be a public school in your neighborhood that can provide your children what they need to succeed.
So these cuts, these federal funds, I would imagine, are already impacted by the sequester.
Correct.
Right? And then on top of that now by the shutdown.
Right. And the sequester funds, those are just going to continue to get worse if Congress doesn't do a fix through this budget. So at the fall, the impact wasn't so great. But as we move through the year and those federal funds that are supposed to come stop coming because of the across-the-board cuts of sequester, it'll just keep getting worse. And by next fall, it will be catastrophic.
Yeah, but that's all right. You've got some coffee there. I'll help you. I'll take a sip. But what's striking to me is that there seems to be so little awareness. I mean, you're dealing with the members of Congress every day. So little awareness here in the district of the real impact of their lack of decision making or their lack of coming to some agreement on the budget with real people around the country, and millions of people around the country, and particularly our kids.
You know, when the hue and cry came up that quit closing our national parks, so then the House says, oh, I know, let's just fund and reopen the national parks. When some critical health or safety isn't being done, they'll say, oh, well, let's fund that. Where in the world are these voices of the kids that are coming out, hey, how about us? And they're ignoring them. They simply ignore those who can't come to the Congress and vote against them. I just think it's wrong. And, in a nation of ours, we ought to take care of those who are most vulnerable, the elderly, the young, and those who don't have enough. FDR said it great. He said it's not whether we add more to the abundance of those who have much, but whether we provide enough for those who have too little. And I think as a nation that ought to be a priority.
To me, I'm so glad you just quoted that. That is one of the most powerful lines here in Washington, D.C., etched in the granite, I guess it is, of the FDR Memorial down here on the
right.
tidal basin.
I always say to people, it's a common phrase, this isn't carved in stone. I say, this is. This is carved in stone, and it's a great way. It's a philosophy of a nation, whether you add more to those who already have it or provide enough. And I think in a democracy, from our founding principles and ideals, we have always believed you provide enough to those who have too little.
All right, so the shutdown and the sequester on top of already, and we've talked about this before, budget cutbacks in cities and counties, which have really cost a lot of teachers their jobs, right? I mean, we haven't recovered from that, and that goes back to, I guess, 2008, the collapse of 2008.
Right. When you look at the state budgets, I mean, they've had serious financial difficulty. This economic crisis really hit the states. No one can deny that. And there are certain funds that are more difficult to cut than others, like funding for prisons. That just keeps going up, but you can't say, well, let's not do that anymore. But so what we're saying is that education is one of those things that we can cut, and we have across this country, which, as you stated, makes these federal cuts even more powerful because they've already taken such big hits.
Right.
The thing, too, I always want people to understand is that, as they eliminated, 400,000 jobs for adults in public schools, the kids are all still there. They're coming every day. And what we cut were the people who were providing services that they needed. We increased class sizes. We took programs that used to be there and eliminated them. So the impact is very wide and very deep. And these kids only have one shot. When you lose out by adding class size and have 35 or 40 first graders in a room, that's their only year in first grade, and you can't pay it back. So to me, that's an investment, and you don't stop investing in our next generation.
Yeah, nothing more important. Nothing more important. Dennis Van Rocco here. He's president of the NEA. Your comments and your questions, welcome. Remember, you can always send your comments to Twitter at BP Show. And your calls for President Van Rocco here at 866-55-PRESS. The impact of the shutdown, the sequester on our children, the children of America, and our great teachers. Let's talk about it right here on the Bill Press Show.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Racing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we go, 14 minutes now before the top of the hour. It is the Bill Press Show, and in studio with us, President of the National Education Association, Dennis Van Rogel. Dennis, I want to ask you about because you travel so much and you represent teachers all over this country. What are and we've been talking about all the difficulties that schools are having, but where do you see good stuff happening? Any particular state leading the way, that with innovation and
one of the things
even in these tough times doing
absolutely.
good stuff?
One of the things that just kind of gives me energy every single day is when I travel the country. And there's not a state I go into that I can't find examples of that each and every day. They come there with this passion and this energy, and they're going to make it right. I've been in September, in late September, I did my back to school tour, and I was in 4 different states and visited schools and met with editorial boards. And it's exciting what people are doing. These Common Core state standards, this is a real game changer in education. It really is saying to all kids, here's what you need to know in this new global world that we live in, this global economy. And I like to, they always talk about career and college ready. I like to add another C, and that's called citizenship, being ready to be part of this great nation and a democracy. And as I watch people all over this country take on every obstacle, all of these cut funds, all of this threat at Congress that they can't figure out how to do their job, and they're finding ways to make these Common Core standards come alive, to teach that in a way to enable every single kid. And what I love is that they know that when we do the first assessments, the kids aren't going to do well. It's a very different standard, very different, high, complex thinking skills, problem solving. And their attitude is, wherever they are now, what we're going to make sure is we get them up there as they go through school. So it's this looking forward about what do we need to do to remove obstacles for every kid to succeed, instead of all these people who want to just dwell on the negative and what's wrong.
Yeah, exciting to see that innovation. Laura joins us from Madison, Wisconsin, listening on 92.1 The Mic out in Madison. Hey, Laura, good morning.
Hi, I was just calling to go back to the Head Start. My concern is when we cut Head Start, that's a program that prepares students to learn and be successful in school. And when we don't give them the opportunity to go to preschool like everybody else, that puts them behind, which then impacts the classroom because the teacher has to redirect and reprompt and refocus these kids who don't know how to be in a structured environment. And that impacts the learning for all students. So it's a program that people don't think about that angle, about how it can impact my child who doesn't have the Head Start programming, but it will.
You are so absolutely correct. I was a high school math teacher for 23 years, but of course, in my role now, I visit classrooms of every age. And what it really surprised me is that there is no class in school that has a greater range of ability than kindergarten. Because some kids, families of means, they provide all of those opportunities, good preschool. These kids have learned so much by the time they start school. And others just don't have that opportunity. It's not that their parents don't want to give that to them, they can't. And so Head Start is a way of leveling that playing field, giving them the experiences they need to be ready for school. And so it does impact these kids, obviously, but as our caller just mentioned, it impacts everybody in that classroom, the teacher and all of the kids.
And it's really the foundation, isn't it? Right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So you're going to be suffering if you don't start there. You're always going to be sort of playing catch up. It would seem to me. I mean,
if you look at the countries around the world who are leading, Finland, they weren't always number one. If you go back to 1990, they only had about 47% of their kids in preschool education. Now it's over 90%. It makes a difference. That's the best investment any nation can make, is in that preschool. And I always believe, I know of no family of means that doesn't provide those experiences for their kids. Those enrichment activities, they learn so much from 0 to 5. So if everyone who can does that, why in the world as a nation would we withhold that from kids whose parents can't afford it? It's absolutely the greatest nation builder program you could ever come up with.
I've heard the president talk about the goal of universal preschool. We're not there yet, are we? In this
Absolutely
country?
not. His proposal, I think, has real merit in that it starts out with the major funding from the federal level, and then it tapers down, and states have to pick back that up.
Right.
But it's the investment that you make early that will make the difference. There's an old saying that the best time to plant a shade tree was 20 years ago. But the second best time is today.
Yeah.
And I think that's about early childhood education. The best time to start it would have been 20 years ago, but the second best is today. What are we going to do to ensure that every child has that opportunity to make sure that when they come to school, they're ready to learn and have the basics they need?
You mentioned Finland, which intrigued me. Where do we rank now among Western nations or civilized nations or whatever worldwide in terms of education? We sort of think of America as number one in everything, right?
Well, I love that question, Bill, because it's really interesting. The PISA, it's called PISA, the Program for the International Student Assessment. And the new results will be coming out in December, the first week in December. But 2 years ago, when the results came out, everybody talked about that America was in about the middle. But that's not the whole story. What I believe is a powerful part of that story is if you look at all kids in America that go to school where there is less than 10% poverty, we're number one in the world. See, so it isn't just an issue of excellence, it's equity. It makes a difference where you live. We talked about preschool.
Yeah.
Finland does that. In Finland, it really doesn't make a difference which school you go to. You'll get that range of ability. Kids aren't machines. But in this country, the impact of poverty cannot be allowed to be an excuse. But the impact of poverty, we must address that. And that's the kind of thing we need to do if we're ever going to turn it around. But it shows the inequity of our system and how it impacts kids.
So kids from the wealthier districts were number one in the world, huh?
Less than 10% poverty, yes.
Number one. And for
overall,
we are like
about in the middle.
Wow. Boy, that speaks volumes, doesn't it, about
providing enough to those who have too little.
Yeah.
Give them that opportunity for those experiences. My niece has a daughter, and she's, as I say, a piece of work. And when she was about 10, I was asking her, she had been in soccer and horseback riding and dance and all these things, and I asked her about which one she enjoyed the most. She said, I just haven't found my passion yet.
Jeez.
But the beauty of that is that she had all of those opportunities, and now she found it. She's about 12 now, and it's archery. But I thought, if every kid in America had the chance to play soccer and music and horseback riding and dance and all of those things to find what turned them on, what a great world this would be.
Find your passion. I'm telling you, education is your passion, and you do such a great job leading our nation's teachers. Thank you so much, Dennis Van Rokel, for coming in.
Thank you, Bill.
See you again soon. I'll tell you what the president's up to next.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hour number 3 coming up pretty soon here. We'll lose you on Free Speech TV, but fear not. You can still watch the video on our video stream on TawkrTV. You get there by going to youtube.com/TawkrTV. Yes, Republicans in Congress can't get their act together, but the Democrats can. They are standing by to do the right thing, and 2 Democratic members of Congress will be in studio with us in our 3rd hour together. Congresswoman Barbara Lee from California and Congressman Peter Welch from Vermont. Stay with us.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have Pep Talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Congresswoman Barbara Lee at the top of the next hour here in studio with us, all the way from California to our studio, and then we'll be joined by Congressman Peter Welch from Vermont. President Obama's schedule today. And let me tell you, the schedule of the White House today changes minute by minute. You don't know what might be scheduled to deal with the government shutdown. What is on the schedule after he gets a daily briefing today with the Vice President at 10:15. He and the Vice President will have their weekly lunch at 12:30. And then the two of them will meet with the Secretary of the Treasury, Jack Lew, at 2:30 this afternoon. And a half an hour later, they'll be meeting with Secretary of State John Kerry. We'll have our regular White House briefing today with Jay Carney at 12:30. Congresswoman Barbara Lee on We're Going to Get Out of This Mess coming up next.
This is the Bill Press Show. broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, day 16 now of the shutdown, and less than 48 hours before we go over the cliff. If there's no deal in Congress, God knows where we are this morning. We thought we were going to have one yesterday, but it didn't work. Well, we'll find out as much as we can from two members of Congress in this hour here. Good to see you this morning. Wednesday, October 16, The Bill Press Show, coming to you live all the way across this country, coast to coast, starting out right here in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., in our studio on Capitol Hill. And joining us in studio to bring us up to date on what's happening down the street at the U.S. Capitol building, Congresswoman Barbara Lee from Oakland, California. Congresswoman, always good to see you.
Good to be with you.
Thanks for coming in bright and early this morning. And joining our team of Peter Ogburn and Dan Henning. Hello, guys.
Hey. Good morning.
With Alicia Cruz. She is standing by to take your calls at 866-55-PRESS. And Cyprian Bolding, our videographer, who's keeping us all looking good on our video stream at TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Well, Congressman, we don't know what's going on in the House. Do you?
No one knows. It's total chaos, quite frankly, and no one's in charge.
Yeah.
We saw that yesterday. And so the hope is that the Senate can work together to come up with a proposal, a deal, and send it to the House. But then what happens when it gets to the House? I'm hoping Speaker Boehner has the courage to put whatever bill comes forward, and hopefully it's a bill that we all could support and pass.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that in some detail here. Congressman Peter Welch, from a good colleague from Vermont, the one and only member of Congress from Vermont, will be joining us at the half hour. Meanwhile, Congresswoman, before we get into the sad news of the day here, so David Letterman last night revealed a very, sometimes, every once in a while there's a story about somebody who abuses the 911 system. They call for things that they really shouldn't call for. It's supposed to be guarded for emergencies. He told us about the latest of these examples here.
You know, the service 911 on your phone, you're only supposed to press that in an emergency. If there's like a fire in your house or something's gone wrong, or maybe you see a prowler sneaking around outside on the lawn, then you press the 911, shoot you right through to the police. Well, a guy gets on the phone and presses 911 because he had opened his refrigerator and what he was saving for a snack had been stolen.
Snack was stolen.
Governor Christie, please get some help. For the love of goodness.
Oh, poor Governor Christie. He gets the ribbing. But tomorrow, or today, Congresswoman, is that special election in New Jersey. And it looks like we're going to have a dynamic new senator from New Jersey, don't you think?
Well, it'd be great. We've had very few African Americans, first of all, in the Senate.
Yes.
Of course, we have a Republican African American in the Senate now from South Carolina.
Appointed.
Yes. But Cory Booker, and Cory is a man who I think will really go into the Senate and work on tough issues that you don't hear much about in the Senate. We're just beginning in the House as it relates to poverty and income inequality. And so I hope that the turnout is what it should be so that he can win and come on to Washington, D.C. to fight the good fight.
Yep, we're looking for good things from New Jersey today, and hopefully, and that will give Harry Reid another big ally in this current battle, right, over the shutdown, the sequestration, the default, and everything.
Yeah, Senator Reid is doing, I think, a phenomenal job. He and our leader Pelosi holding firm as it relates to no compromise over what we should be doing anyway, our job, opening the government up and not allowing us to default on the debt.
So let's talk about yesterday. So when we started the show yesterday, the Majority Leader Harry Reid and the Republican leader Mitch McConnell They were talking. Both of them were saying we're making progress. We're encouraged by the possibilities. And it looked like the plan yesterday was going to be the Senate would pass its deal, whatever it was, and then it would come over to the House, and the House would have to deal with it. And suddenly, things fell apart because John Boehner said instead, no, we House Republicans want to have our own deal. And from there, where did it go?
Well, the radical right-wing Tea Party members of Congress are running the show, and they effectively derailed what the speaker was going to put up, which, of course, was something that was a non-starter for Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
But that just is an example of the disarray that the Republicans are in because of this 30 to 40 really radical members. And, Bill, I have to say, they came here to Congress not to serve as public servants, but to dismantle and to decimate government. They're anti-government. So this is part of their plan. This is nothing new. It's not a surprise to me that this is what they're doing, because this is why they came.
Well, I think that's important for people to understand. They want the government to shut down, right?
They want the government to shut down. They don't want government. They really want a society, a country that's a free-for-all, survival of the fittest. You get yours, I get mine. That's their values. That's why they're here in Congress.
I mean, they want the government, the United States, to default on our credit, right?
Yes, they really do not see the common good in our country. And I tell you, this anti-government fervor and agenda that they came with is really destroying the very fabric of American life and the American dream that so many people not only have worked and fought for, but so many people are trying to achieve.
It's Congressman, what is it, Huelskamp or something like that from Kansas. He's one of the Tea Partiers. Exactly. Peter, you might check. He's been getting a little news. I saw him last night.
Tim Huelskamp, I think.
Tim Huelskamp, yeah. Mm-hmm. And he said, the reporter asked him something about, don't you believe you're just an obstructionist here? And he said, no, not at all. He said, President Obama has his agenda. He wants Obamacare. I have my agenda. I don't want Obamacare. And I came here and was elected less than a year ago, right, to stop it. Yeah, but Obamacare's been the law of the land for 3 years,
The Affordable Care Act is the law of the land. The Supreme Court upheld it. And what he effectively, along with his colleagues, are doing, they're denying health care to millions of Americans.
That's their agenda.
And that's their agenda. And the parochialism and the selfishness and the anti-government attitude and agenda that they came here with really reflects the fact that they don't want to work for the common good or find some kind of national policy that would affect all Americans, but they only see their very small, narrow agenda. And that's really to dismantle the government and to attack President Obama. They did not do it in the elections. He won big time. So they've got to find another way to make sure that this president is not successful. That's what their agenda is.
All right, so let's see if we can figure out. So yesterday, John Boehner came up with a plan, tried to sell to his caucus. They shot it down. He reworked the plan to make it even more right-wing. They shot that down. So then, basically, everything collapsed there. Harry Reid and Mitch McConnell go back to talking again. Let's say they come up with they can get a deal through the Senate today, and it comes back to the House. Then what's got to happen? Well, is there any chance of getting that through the House?
The Speaker has to bring it up. That's the problem. That's the dilemma. I'm certain that if he brings it up, there'll be at least 20, 25 Republicans who would vote for this.
If he lets the entire House vote for it, is what you're saying,
yes,
right?
Yes, the Speaker's very powerful. He or she can say yay or nay to whatever bill comes to the floor. So what the Speaker has to do is say, yes, at least we will have an up or down vote on this. Democrats for weeks now have been saying, let's just bring the budget bill to the floor, which I oppose because the sequestration levels are too low. I mean,
the budget
is cutting the heck out of our seniors, our young people, Head Start. It's a terrible budget. But as Democrats, we said just to get the government open, just to not default on the debt, we would vote for it and then go into what we call a conference committee to try to negotiate upwards the budget. they won't even allow us to bring that to the floor. And so it's all in the Speaker's hand.
So you predicted that if he were to allow a vote, meaning the full House to vote on, it would pass, the Senate deal.
It would pass.
It would pass.
It would pass.
Would he keep his job as Speaker?
Well, we'd have to see. The Republican, the radicals in their party, how they control that is hard to say. How they control the politics of their internal party. I would hope that the moderate Republicans would not allow the Tea Party members to be punitive, to take action to do something that would prohibit or would worry Speaker Boehner from moving forward on, such as bringing up the bill. So I don't know. It's chaos over there. You never know from hour to hour what's taking place within their caucus.
If there were a challenge to him for Speaker, who votes for Speaker? Every member of the House, or just the Republican, or just or Democrats?
Well,
just
of course,
one party?
they have the majority.
Yeah.
And so naturally, whoever they put up would win.
But everybody
gets to vote, and of course, we would vote for Leader Pelosi.
Well, that you were getting to my question, because one of our callers asked this morning whether, if he were challenged, let's say he allows a full vote and a measure passes, and then there's a challenge to the speakership, would Democrats ever consider making a deal? Okay, John Boehner, if you allow this for a vote, we'll keep you as Speaker until 2014.
I doubt it. We want, and that's why elections are so important. Next November, we're very focused on making sure Democrats take back the House so we can have our great leader, Pelosi, as Speaker again. Because when you look at her speakership, it was one of the most phenomenal speakerships of all times. And so that's what we're focused on. We have to do that.
Well, and now I want to ask you, we've talked about a lot of issues and many times that you've been on the show. The problem that I see with this whole gridlock over getting a deal now to avoid default, but also the deal that they're talking about to move forward, but only extend the government for another 3 months or the debt ceiling for another 4 months, is, Congresswoman, what about all the other stuff? What about all the other priorities that Congress ought to be dealing with?
Such as comprehensive immortration reform.
Exactly.
I mean, there's so many priorities.
The chances that's going to get done these days, right?
Well, we're hopeful. We're working on a variety of strategies to get a bill to the floor. Actually, some members were arrested last week. We participated in rallies, and so we're trying to keep the public engaged so that the public can demand that the members of the House take this bill up. But also there are many issues such as education, such as gun safety, such as juvenile justice, such as infrastructure, jobs. What happened to the jobs bill? I mean, you have these obstructionists who won't even allow the president's jobs bill to come to the floor. You have income inequality, issues around poverty. When you look at childhood poverty, 1 in 5 children live in poverty. I mean, it's a terrible, terrible moment. And so for this to take over and to suck up all the oxygen, and that's what it's doing, away from other policy issues and other priorities is a shame and disgrace.
Yeah, that's a real impact of this. But again, I believe that's not accidental. That's deliberately what the Tea Partiers want.
That's right. That's why they came here. And the public, I mean, you remember the rallies they had where and members of them spat on members of the Black Caucus the day the Affordable Care Act came. That's when I knew, that's when I knew that their movement to electoral politics and elected members would be for one purpose, and that would be to try to destroy everything that was being built by this president. And that's what we see happening.
Boy, and for some reason, they seem to be running the show right now, and I keep waiting for, we talked about a lot here, somebody to stand up among the Republican Party, to stand up and say, this is wrong, this is not who we are, and lead.
Well, we've seen some, but they're not breaking through.
No.
The stronghold that the radical faction of their party, the ones who, and they're really obsessed with repealing the Affordable Care Act. I mean, as the beginning of their dismantling of government. And so they're obsessed with that. And until that breaks, until there's a way to crack that, it's going to be this way.
All right. Well, there's a lot of work to be done. We'll don't know how this day is going to play out, but Congresswoman, we will let you get back to the job there 6 blocks away, and it's in your hands. Straighten it out. Okay. Congresswoman Barbara Lee from California.
Happy
Always great to
with
see
you.
you.
Great
Thanks.
seeing you.
This is the Bill Press Show. Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
Coming up on 26 minutes after the hour here, Congressman Peter Welch from Vermont steps into the studio in the next segment. Huffington Post this morning, by the way, with the headline, we'll ask Peter Welch about this, Boehner to bow. Is it time for Boehner to just say, like Bob Dole did in 1995, enough is enough, we're just going to have a vote. I've tried to get something done and I can't, so we're just going to vote on the Senate measure. Will that happen? Find out more about that with Peter Welch. Peter Ryburn, what else is going on?
Interesting little story out of the Houston Chronicle, which is Ted Cruz's home paper. They endorsed him when he was running for Senate to replace Kay Bailey Hutchison, or to take her seat. And this morning they have a piece out that essentially says they regret ever endorsing him.
Whoa.
It's a piece that says, why we miss Kay Bailey Hutchison. Just read the first paragraph here. We're not sure how much difference one person can make in the toxic, chaotic atmosphere in Washington, but if we could choose one, it would be Hutchison, whose years of service in the Senate were marked by two things sorely lacking in her successor, Ted Cruz. And goes on to sort of make the case that he's only added to the nasty, toxic, vile atmosphere that Congress has sort of come to, people have sort of come to equate with Congress, and that, they're not very happy with their endorsement.
That is stunning. Actually, it is stunning.
And remember, he's only been in office
less than a year. For the people of Texas, I mean, I thought, and last time we talked with Wayne Slater from the Dallas Morning News, remember Wayne said, Bill, you're not going to like this, but Ted Cruz is pretty popular back in Texas. It sounds like that is turning. And certainly, if Kay Bailey Hutchison were in the Congress right now, I'll tell you where she would be. She would be working with Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski and Kelly Ayotte, the three Republican women who are trying to work with several Democrats and with Harry Reid now and Mitch McConnell in getting a bipartisan deal. That's where Kay Bailey Hutchison. She would not be in the basement of the Tortilla Coast restaurant, which probably is the worst restaurant in Washington, D.C. I mean, the worst Mexican restaurant in the country, and I think the worst restaurant in Washington, D.C. But, of course, that's Ted Cruz's favorite. She would not be in the basement of Tortilla Coast the other night with 24 House Republicans telling them to defy anything that came out of the Senate. And why? It just shows what idiots these Tea Partiers are, that they're taking their lead from a freshman senator from Texas, Ted Cruz. I'm telling you. Whoa, I don't know how we work our way out of this. Maybe Peter Welch can tell us next here on the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show. Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
Wednesday morning, October 16, 33 minutes after the hour of the Bill Press Show, coming to you live on your local progressive talk radio station and streaming live on TawkrTV at youtube.com/TawkrTV. Brought to you today by the Laborers International Union of North America. Good men and women of the Laborers Union under President Terry O'Sullivan, providing better jobs and building a better America. That's their website as well, LiunaBuildsAmerica.org. That's Liuna, L-I-U-N-A, BuildsAmerica.org. As we've been talking through the morning, day 16 now of the government shutdown, and less than 48 hours away from default, the time that the Treasury Secretary has nothing left but cash on hand to pay our bills, and there's not enough of that on hand. There never is. Therefore, we will default on our bills. Can we work our way out of this mess? Congressman Peter Welch here from Vermont. Maybe he's got some answers. Hey, Congressman, always good to see you.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming in. You got a big smile on your face. That has anything to do with how the Red Sox are doing here?
Boston had a big day. The Patriots and the Red Sox. Yeah,
I'll tell you.
2-1. I mean, they're
big
looking
day
good.
over the weekend, and then the Red Sox again yesterday.
And my friend Joe Courtney, he's got to take that gloating look off his face. He knows it's precarious.
Is it Red Sox go all the way?
It's red. Look, it's got to be.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're asking a fan, you know.
Throw me another hard ball.
Right. I tell you, throwing a hard ball to whoever it was that hit that grand slam home run on Sunday. That must have been
Big Pappy.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
He's incredible.
But that outfielder who tried to make that catch, I mean, it's amazing. He got up.
Mm-hmm.
He got split in half there and managed to land. Meanwhile, I guess in the bullpen, the catcher caught the ball that the fielder was trying to get. But that was a spectacular hit.
If you haven't seen the picture of Torrey Hunter's legs up in the air in a V shape and the policeman sort of right behind him with his arms up in a V, it's such a great picture.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was an incredible game. It was exciting.
I know. Well, this whole playoff season for the baseball has been very exciting. I want to start with Congressman, one of the Tea Partiers yesterday, Marsha Blackburn. This sort of represents to me maybe what's wrong with the whole system. It illustrates why it's been impossible to get anything done. So she was on MSNBC with Thomas Roberts, and he was quizzing her about the role of the Tea Party in all of this. She's in total denial, maybe. Here's what that exchange sounded like.
When it comes to Obamacare, do you hate Obamacare more than you love your country?
I got to tell you something. I think that comments like that you are making are just incredibly inappropriate. What we have to realize
You don't think it's
is
incredibly
that the
inappropriate to shut down our government and to take all the hostages of Americans that you've taken? No, it's not inappropriate because you've taken the government hostage through a shutdown, and all the American people, you're now walking them to a cliff, the economy, and you're going to push them over one by one based on the fact that you don't like the ACA. That's all it is. You don't like the Affordable Care Act.
Listen to yourself. We didn't want a government shutdown. Just listen to the way you're sounding. My goodness.
My goodness, Congressman. So she's saying the Tea Partiers, they don't want a government shutdown. They do want a government shutdown, don't they?
Yeah, they got a government shutdown.
Right,
I mean,
right.
Where are we? I mean, bottom line here, what happened is that Boehner made a mistake, in my view. The entire Republican conference is against the Affordable Care Act. So it's not surprising that Boehner would support them in their effort. What is surprising that is he adopted their tactics. They adopted really dangerous and really dead-end tactics, and that was shut down in debt default. And when you got to support your base, but you can't defer to their judgment when it comes to what tactics you pursue. And what's surprising here is that Boehner knew that it was out of reach to get rid of the Affordable Care Act when they didn't have the Senate and they were never going to get a signature of the president. So he knew that as a practicing politician. He also knew that shutdown, and especially a debt default, had to be out of bounds. But he embraced those tactics nevertheless. So we have been on a dead-end march since he embraced that tactic. And fortunately, I think today the fever is going to break, and we're going to do today what we knew we were going to do a couple of months ago, and that's take the Senate bill.
on your point, John McCain is quoted in the Senator John McCain quoted in the New York Times this morning saying, "It's very, very serious. Republicans have to understand we have lost this battle." And he said he predicted weeks ago that we would not be able to win because we were demanding something that was not achievable.
Yeah, and that's very straightforward. And, that's the world of politics is a combination of aspiration, but practical judgment. And what you've had is sort of a faith-based approach to aspiration without any reference to what realistically was within reach. Also, by the way, this has been incredibly dangerous and, in my view, damaging to the country. I mean, the spectacle of a country literally having a debate where the proposition is that it's okay to stiff your creditors, not pay your bills, where if you're mad at your plumber, you don't pay your electrician. I mean, that's essentially what you're doing. You've got a problem in your life, so you don't pay the mortgage. Well, it doesn't work that way for a person or for a country, and that's what the debt deniers have been advocating. And it's a spectacle to the rest of the world, and it looks like we're weak and dysfunctional. Now, the good news here is that the president did draw the line hard and firm, and he did from the beginning. We don't negotiate on our obligation to pay our bills. So I think that tactic has been broken, and that's a good outcome. It was a necessary fight to have. The president stood firm, and we're going to pay our bills, and I think it'll be a pushback to any faction in Congress in the future who wants to send us over the cliff to get their way.
Okay, now you just said something that the first kind of confident note of optimism that I have heard from anybody, which is you said today we're going to get this done. So you believe today there will be a deal from the Senate, that it will come to the House, and that it will pass the House?
I do. It might be tomorrow, but it's pushing it.
I'll give you tomorrow.
Yeah,
the reason it will happen in this less than 48 hours we have left.
I do believe that, and I'll tell you why. I believe John Boehner is serious when he says he's not going to let the nation default. And essentially, what he's done is let his caucus exhaust every bad idea. And he's tried to put even worse ideas on the floor. And he's gotten to the point where they've run out of bad ideas that they can get 218 votes for. So this is a spectacle where they're basically going to have to take the Senate bill. And you've got a bipartisan bill, it looks like, with Senator Reid and Senator McConnell. And by the way, Senator Reid, unbelievable profile and strength here.
Yeah.
I mean, this man just held firm. And much to be admired about his leadership in this effort. So I think the House is going to be given an opportunity to vote on this, and it'll probably pass with overwhelming Democratic support and some Republican support that knows that pragmatism does have a place in politics.
The headline in the Huffington Post this morning, Boehner to bow, ? And what they mean by bowing is putting it up to the full House for a vote.
That's right, and that's his job. He came in saying that he wanted to return to so-called regular order and let the, quote, House work its will. That's a wise approach. And the
hasn't always done it.
He hasn't done it. That's the point. He's strayed from what his objective was. And he's followed this so-called Hastert rule, where basically he's got to get overwhelming support from the Republicans before putting something on the floor. And, in fact, that has given an immense amount of leverage to the most extreme wing of his party that is a just say no kind of deal.
But if I hear you correctly, you're saying that now Boehner will be able to go to his caucus after yesterday, right, and say, "Look, guys, I gave you every possible chance,
right,
to accomplish what you wanted to accomplish."
There was no idea too dumb that I wouldn't try.
I'm not sure he would say it that way, but
that's more or less what they did.
That's in fact what he's saying, right?
Right.
And so he says, so I've been with you every step of the way. Now we're just at the point where we've run out of options. There's only one left. We got to have a vote.
That's right. It's exactly right. Now there's folks in his caucus, who
will vote against it.
A lot of them will vote no, but a lot of them are saying that it's no big deal if you default. All right, and that's just la la land. And Boehner knows that, so he's going to put this on the floor and say, "Look, it's this or nothing. Vote the way you want."
Not that it's the most important question, but it may be to John Boehner. If and when he does that and it passes, does he keep his job as Speaker?
Well, I think a more relevant question is, Does he want his job as Speaker? I mean, this is impossible. I think
Good
he does.
point.
I think he
Yeah.
does keep his job, and in part it's because I think he made a bad decision. All right, but the decision he made probably
Saved his job.
because he is indulging, in effect,
Mhm.
just a reckless strategy. So nobody can say he sold them out. He fought the bitter fight. But I think it was a bad strategy because it did a lot of damage, some damage to the country, and significant damage to the functioning of the House,
Yeah.
and reputational damage to the country.
So, yeah, who would want to be Speaker under these conditions, right?
Well,
Yeah.
you know, he's a pragmatic person. In the past, his reputation when he was in the
Absolutely.
Labor chair, he worked
Yep.
with Teddy Kennedy. You know, he had a reputation for getting things done. But he's got a tough caucus. And how do you lead that? And at a certain point, when you see that you've got a significant element in there that literally thinks no big deal if you default on your bills, and they pursue a strategy that you know is dead end, that presumes you'll get the President of the United States to sign a repeal of his health care bill, that's an unruly group to lead.
Absolutely. So 2 questions for Congressman when we come back is, one, from what we've seen of the Senate deal, is it really a good deal at all? And what about all the other priorities of this nation? Is we going to see any possibility of getting anything done on those as long as we're still in the middle of this fiscal mess? Congressman Peter Welch, Democrat from Vermont, here in studio with us. He'll be glad to take your calls and your questions at 866-55-PRESS. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
11 minutes to go before the top of the hour. Congressman Peter Welsh in studio with us. Congressman, one of your colleagues, Representative Jamie Herrera Butler, whatever how you pronounce it, from Washington, Republican from Washington State, quoted in Huffington Post this morning saying, "Nothing positive could be achieved by prolonging this shutdown any longer. It's time for my colleagues to face reality." Maybe we're going to hear more voices like that, do you think?
I do. I mean, the pragmatic Republicans are trying to escape the grip of in the doom strategy of the Tea Party folks. So that's what gives me some confidence. If Speaker Boehner is going to put that bill, the Senate bill, on the floor, which has a bipartisan majority in the Senate, Reid and McConnell, that's going to get enough representatives on the Republican side like her, along with Democrats. So we'll get through this.
Okay, now let's look at this. Well, we saw the outlines of a deal, and it's unlikely to change much today. Is that the Senate was talking about reopening the government until January 15 and extending the debt ceiling until February 15. I mean, that just gives us 3 or 4 months. That's nothing. We're never going to get out of this argument over these issues, right?
Congress is in the world of low expectations, all right, and we're matching, we're meeting them. But there are a couple of things that are very important. Okay, this is not a fight that President Obama necessarily wanted to pick, but it came to him and he held firm. And there's a couple of things that are really quite important and significant going forward. Number one, he has, I believe, established the principle that you don't mess with our obligation to pay our bills. So members of Congress who want to use that tactic in the future are going to get pistol whipped in the future, just like it's happening now. It's not going to be done. Second, he really stood up to the folks who say shutdown is a tactic. So I think you're going to see members of Congress or factions in Congress who've got an agenda seeing as off limits shutdown in debt default. So go ahead.
Okay, but here's my but. But if they succeed, though, in having these battles every 3 or 4 months, this gets to my second question, what else is going to get done? There's no opportunity to get anything done, like immigration reform.
Well, that is the valid and concerning point. I mean, but I want to just, the third point here is that this was about the Affordable Care Act.
Yes.
I mean, this was a fight. This was the last gasp of the irreconcilables on the health care bill. So don't underestimate the importance of this.
Battle.
They lost it. We're now going to be in the very difficult work of how do you implement a complicated law. But it's not going to be about repeal. It's going to be about improving it. So you've got the health care that I think is established in law. You've got the dismissal of the tactics of shutdown and debt default. We shouldn't have had those fights because Congress should never have employed those tactics. But we did have the fight. The president stood firm. Harry Reid stood firm, and I think that's good for the country. Now, the hope is we start getting down to the business that we should have been paying attention to, a long-term budget. And this country has got a severe problem in its underemployment, its unemployment, and it's the incredible wealth disparity. And we've got to address that with policies and a budget. And we should be talking about that full time. I mean, it is tough out there for a lot of families. And young kids who are getting out of college, they have mortgage level style debt when they get started. It's much tougher for them than it was for you and me when we were getting started. We're starting to fall behind on scientific research.
Yeah.
Our infrastructure is falling apart. These are all things that should be the day-to-day concerns of both sides of the aisle in Congress. And let's get on to it.
Well, getting onto those issues is so important because there's just so much that's been pushed aside while we're dealing with this battle over the shutdown and default issues. Hopefully, Congressman, it's nice to hear your voice of optimism and seeing things in as positive a light as possible. Thanks so much for coming in again today.
Thanks, Bill.
You got a lot of work to do today. We'll let you get back to work there, and I'll come back with a quick parting shot.
This is the Bill Press Show. Morning Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
Well, believe it or not, we've been talking a lot about the shutdown and default this morning. It's not the only news these days. My favorite story of the day, in fact, has nothing to do with Washington. It's about Pope Francis. We've talked a lot about how he's turning things upside down in the Catholic Church. Well, now it turns out a lot of conservative Catholics are worried. They've even started to criticize the Pope publicly. Why? Because they know how popular his message is. Catholics have had enough of leaders like the American bishops who oppose the Affordable Care Act because it included coverage for contraception. Catholics don't want leaders like that German bishop who recently spent $42 million renovating his own palace. They want somebody like Pope Francis who won't even live in the papal apartments because they're too fancy. Good for Pope Francis. The more conservative Catholics attack him, the more we love him. Have a great day, folks.
This is
See you
the
tomorrow.
Bill Press Show.